And he never complained of this inability
Very interesting.
to walk.
Well, Professor, during these missions, what was mostly the spoken language within these missions at that time?
The spoken language, of course, was the local language of the natives, basically.
Oh, I see.
And during all this time that he was spending getting into missionary work, he learned the dialects of the natives and was able to communicate with them. But the greatest communication was the symbolism of the cross, of the crucifix, and personal crucifix, and then the service and the sermons and in the churches was always simplified by Brother Serra.
How interesting. Well, when he finished these missions, did he have to go back to teaching the seminarians or?
No, once he started his missionary work, he was called the Presidente, which made him in charge of all the missions in California.
Oh, very good.
So he periodically visited the missions to see how they were coming along and to make any suggestions that would be of value to the natives.
How interesting. Professor, I see you've been written several books on this subject and other subjects. Could you elaborate some of the books that you have written yourself?
Well, the first book that I wrote is called St. Francis, Saint of Assisi and the World, and that was published in 1988. And it was during that time that I had visited the Pope in Rome, and the book was specially blessed by him. And the research from it excited me, so that I visited Rome and Assisi about 7 or 8 times. I did a lot of personal study, going to the places where St. Francis lived, where he prayed, where he preached, and so within myself I felt almost like St. Francis, being with him.
Very good.
And then, of course, he was very interested in developing or establishing a group of women as sisters, and he called them at that time Order of the Poor Ladies, and was directed under Claire, who was a daughter of the nobility in Assisi. So that we had a first order, which was Order of Friars Minor, a second order, Orders of Poor Clares, and then the question came up, lay people, married people who had business and couldn't leave, wanted to become Franciscans. So it was developed, he received permission from the Pope to develop a group called the Order of Brothers and Sisters of Penance. So he established these 3 orders, which are in strong influence today.
Very, very interesting. Professor, in all these books you've written, have they been in more than one language, or are they going to be interpreted and written in other languages? Or?
Basically, they've all been written in the English language, although I have an upcoming book called Our Lady of Guadalupe, Blessed Mother of the Americas, which I hope will be eventually translated into Spanish. I have 2 people who are urging to do that for me. And I hope to present it to in Mexico at the shrine of the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
How interesting. Very good indeed. Hey. And this other one with Father Serra, you have anything you could ad-lib or elaborate on that, or of any of his biography?
Well, there are a number of biographies that have been written by him. Well, actually, it's almost by him, because they took many of the notes. There was one thing that Father Serra did. He wrote and kept copious notes.
Oh, I see.
He had a real professional educational background, so he was able to write. And he wrote mostly Greek and Latin, and of course in Spanish.
Spanish, right.
And therefore, most of the people who have written about him have copied from his notes. And they're interesting, and they're very professional, very classic. I've had an opportunity to see some of them. So this is where people get the information even at this time, which is over 200 years from the time he died.
Well, Professor, do you think any of his writings are now being transferred into different languages today, or can they get access to these writings that he
I
had?
do not know. I do not have that particular
Very
information.
good.
But I would say that some of the books have been written and translated into Spanish.
Very good. Into
And,
Spanish.
I will look into that someday.
Very good. Very good. And you're still doing writings to yourself, Professor?
Oh yes, I'm in the process of publishing a booklet on Junipero Serra, and also developing what I call a litany. And hopefully that this will be accepted as part of the literature on this wonderful Franciscan.
Gee, it's been very, very interesting talking to you, Professor. Do you know of any honors that have been bestowed on Father Serra over the years? Or can you think of
course,
anything?
He's been claimed a great evangelizer, a great explorer, and I would call him a great spiritual statesman, because he actually managed these missions in California pretty much on his own, except with the help of others, soldiers and Franciscans and friars, and even the natives who helped him out. And
Be like
so
a missionary, huh?
Yeah, he was well known, and there have been many organizations hoping to prepare some information trying to get him canonized, and that is to become a saint of the Roman Catholic Church.
Oh, that would be good.
In September 25th, 1988, he was beatified by Pope John Paul II, and this is a very close step to be called a saint.
Very, very, very good. A diplomatic missionary.
Yes, I would say that.
Gee, Professor, I really enjoyed it very much. Quite educational and informative. And we sure enjoyed you having coming here today, and we really welcome you here very much, Professor. Thank you very much.
I'm very happy to take this opportunity, and this message will be carried far and wide, not only here in the East, but also in the California coast,
area,
where I expect to visit within 6 months.
Very good. Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome.